Next, we have the user cost of capital. So what does the user cost of capital mean? So if we know what a user cost of capital is, then it's easy to identify the option here as well. So the user cost of capital is the rental cost of capital. So when we talk about rent, the rate of depreciation would definitely be there. So we can clearly cut out first two options because it does not have the depreciation in it. Then we are having confusion between these two options, right? So this we have already cut down because as we know, the user cost of capital is the rental cost of capital, and usually for assets we have depreciation as well. So depreciation should be there, and we just cut off the first two options. Then we have a confusion that is it a real rate of interest or is it a nominal rate of interest. So here itself it is shown that the annual cost of owing and using a capital asset, it includes the cost of financing the investment and the cost associated with the asset's depreciation. So it captures the total cost of utilizing over a given period. So that hints that it's a real rate of interest, as it's given for a certain time period, and based on that it shows the real rate of interest and the rate of purchase. So the user cost of capital, you have to remember, it is also the rental cost of capital. Next we have when alpha is equal to 3 by 4 and beta is equal to 1 by 4 for the Cobb-Douglas production function, returns to scale are constant, increasing, decreasing, first increasing and then decreasing. So here we know that in Cobb-Douglas production function, alpha plus beta is equal to 1. So if we know that much, we can solve this as well. So say here we have alpha plus beta. So when we do alpha plus beta, we have 3 by 4 plus 1 by 4. That leads to 1, and thus it's given as 1, and so it is constant. So here the returns to scale, what does it show? It refers to the how overall output changes, all inputs are increased at the same time proportionately. So if we know that Cobb-Douglas production function is the sum of the exponents, that is alpha plus beta. So when it's equal to 1, we can say there is constant returns to scale. Then if you are having alpha plus beta greater than 1, it could be analyzed as increasing returns to scale. And if the alpha plus beta value is less than 1, then it would have been decreasing returns to scale. So here in this, it's very clear that alpha plus beta is showing 1, and so it is constant returns to scale. The next question we have, that's a theory thing, that is the natural rate of unemployment equals the sum of two types of unemployed. So there are options are very tricky over here, that shows frictional, structural and cyclical. So these are the three unemployed which is shown in the options. So it's important to understand what frictional is, what structural is, and what cyclical unemployment is. Only then you will be able to know which option to choose. So here we have the natural rate of unemployment. It is the sum of the frictional and structural. So what a structural unemployment is, it arises from the mismatch between the skills employers are looking for and the skills workers have. So there is a mismatch between the two, and whatever you're looking for, you're not getting it, or even the employer, whatever he's looking for in an employee, they are not getting it. So there is a mismatch between the two, that is structural unemployment, and it is caused by technological and other reasons. It's given over here. So here we can see that the natural rate of unemployment is the sum of frictional and structural components. So it represents the minimum level of unemployment that exists in the economy. So here the option given is A, that is natural rate of unemployment is frictional and structurally unemployed. Then we have which of the following statements is correct. So it's important to know what is wrong, only then we can say which of these is correct. So we'll just bifurcate each of the options. We'll look into the answer later on. But if we look into option A, that is, a variable is endogenous when its value is determined by the forces outside the model. So that itself shows a wrong option, because endogenous can never be forces outside the model. So endogenous is inside or within the model, and exogenous is outside. So this option is wrong. Then we look into the option C, that is, it's written that exogenous when its forces within the model. So that even that is wrong. Then we have option D, that is, a variable is autonomous when its value is determined by the forces within the model. So we know what within the model is, that is endo. So again, this is wrong. So here we have only option B that is left. So if we just think logically, we can find out the answer for these questions. That is, a change in an exogenous variable is classified as autonomous change. So its explanation is given over here, where we can understand that since changes in the exogenous variable originate from outside the model that we already saw, they meet the definition of autonomous change. So they are external shocks that can significantly impact the model's outcome. So that's how we can understand the exogenous as well as the autonomous, because the exogenous comes or originates outside the model and they meet the definition of autonomous change. So option B is the correct answer over here, as others are just totally fully wrong statements. Then we have the next question, that is, according to the Phillips curve, unemployment will return to the natural rate when. So we have studied the Phillips curve already, and there we saw the short run as well as the long run equilibrium level. And when we studied the long run equilibrium, that's where we studied regarding the natural rate and the unemployment returning to the natural rate and everything. So out of the options given, it's very easy to identify because the long run equilibrium is given only in option B. So there's no need to even, you can read the other options, but then you can clearly identify that it's option B, because the real wages, it considers the inflation and reflects the purchasing power of wages. So it's at the long run, that is the point where the Phillips curve intersects the natural rate. And at this point, the inflation has stabilized and the real wages would also return to the pre-policy levels. So here the right answer is option B, where the real wages are back at the long run equilibrium level. Then we have the coefficient of the non-determination is equal to. So the non-determination over here means the unexplained variance. So in this options itself, we can cut short the other two, which shows the explained variance. So we don't need that. We will be looking for the unexplained variance. So again, we have two options with unexplained variance. So out of these two, which one would we select? So that's when we read the question again, that is, the coefficient of non-determination is asked, right? So the coefficient of non-determination, it means that it's often denoted as the measures the proportion of total variance in the dependent variable that is not explained by the independent variable in the regression model. So why is option B the correct one over here? That is, it shows the unexplained variance relative to the total variance, and it shows the proportion of the variance in the dependent variable that is not explained by the regression model. So when we understand the coefficient of the non-determination, we can say that it's the unexplained variance by the total variance, and that is given only in option B. So B is the correct answer over here. The number of terms in the expansion of the binomial distribution. So here we have a plus b, n is given as 4. So the expansion of the binomial distribution would be 4 plus n plus 1. That is, here it's 4 plus 1. So the option would be 5. Yeah. that itself is given in the explanation, that the number of terms would be 4 plus 1, and that is 5. So that's the answer. The correct answer is option B, 5. Then we have, what is the integral of cos x square x with respect to x? So in order to understand this, we need to understand what is the d by dx, or the differentiation of the cot x is. So we can see that the d by dx of cot x is negative cos x square x. So if that is the differentiation, then its integral would be negative cot x plus c. So here we have that in option D, that is negative cot x plus c. So you can remember it either ways. Either you can remember the differentiation of cot x, or you can remember it as the integral of cot x. So based on that, it is easy to identify that the integral of cot x square x is negative cot x plus c. For a set A is equal to 3 and 4, find the power set of E of A. So here we have to find the power set. It's very easy because the power set includes all the variables or all the subsets in it. So that's why we have the null, that is the empty set, as well as A and everything together. So here we have option D, that shows the power set. So remember, whenever they are asking for power set, it would include the empty set, the A, and everything inside it as well. Then we have, if the international terms of trade settle at a level that is between each country's opportunity cost, then there is no basis for gainful trade. Both countries would gain from the trade. Only one country would gain from the trade. One country gains and the other loses. So these are the options given. But here we can see that in the question, it's clearly mentioned that between each country's opportunity cost, a trade has been settled. So that would be where both the countries gain from each other, right? So here we have only one option, that is option B. When the international terms of trade settle between two countries' opportunity cost, it signifies that mutual gains from trade would be there. So this equilibrium ensures that efficient resource allocation, then it also promotes specialization, and it allows both countries to access goods at the lower cost than the original or the domestic production that we have. So that's why we can see that it's whenever opportunity cost of a country is given, or if the terms of trade is being settled at that level, it means both countries gain from the trade.